Well, all right. By my clock, it is 4:30. And this is the April 15th Zion Cemetery Preservation and Maintenance Society Board meeting. I will stop the share here and see who all's on board. And by my count, we do have Board Member Hearns, Board Member Presley, Board Member Lewis, Board Member Burden, Board Member Moore. Is there any other board members online?
Reeve is here.
Ms. Mon, okay. All right, I see you are. And any other board members online?
Yvette Lewis.
Yes, Board Member Lewis, yep, I saw you. Okay, so by my count, we have 6 board members. We do have a quorum. So our meeting is officially open. I will call the meeting to order. I'll do roll call real quick just to make sure. Board Member Fred Hearns, just say aye.
Here.
Or yes, here. Board Member
Here.
Clinton Burden.
Here.
Board Member Yvette Lewis.
Here.
Board
Present.
Member Pastor Presley.
Present.
Board Member Reva Imam.
Here.
Board Member Clark Simmons. Board Member Clark Simmons, I see you. I think you're muted, you're driving, so give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Mr. Clark, can you hear me? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, he may be having audio problems, but he is online. So I will count him as present. Are there any other board members? All right, hearing none, we do have a quorum. We are officially open. I will go to the agenda and, well, first we're going to do public comment. So let's open the mic up for any public comment. Anyone from the general public that would like to comment at this time? If so, unmute and you will have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing and hearing no one from the general public for public comment, I'll close public comment. We have an agenda item to approve the minutes from our March 2021 board meeting. You guys just got those minutes today. I saw some typos in it that I'm going to actually have corrected. So I will ask that we table the approval of the minutes from the March meeting to the next board meeting unless there's objection.
This is Pastor Presley. Can we just make a motion or a motion to accept the minutes with the necessary corrections? Because I did proof it as well and saw just some corrections that need to be made, and then we wouldn't have to wait to the next board meeting. I'm just asking.
Yes, we can do that. And if anyone has any corrections, if you can get me your corrections, just scribble on them or give me a quick email by close of business tomorrow, and we will incorporate them in the minutes. Is there any objection?
Leroy, this is Fred. I have just one. My name is spelled H-E-A-R-N-S.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. That was one of my corrections.
Okay.
Okay. All right, hearing no other objections, we will consider the minutes approved as to be modified by any board member that submits corrections by close of business tomorrow. All in favor? Aye.
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 And any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, I'm seeing that's a unanimous approval. All right, let's move on to new business item. The first item on our agenda is the election of officers. I actually started off the last meeting by nominating a slate of officers primarily for purposes of expediting the time. I'm assuming everybody has adequate time for today, so therefore I would, well, let me just find out, if anybody has a pressing time and need to get off before 5 p.m. today?
Yes.
There's, okay, so let me then make my nomination as a slate of officers for all 3 available positions, and then we can take any other nominations. But my nominations for president would be Fred, on account of his exemplary experience and education in the area of history, and knowing Tampa and knowing Zion. I think there's no one more capable of serving at this time as president, and I think his name and his credentials will serve us well as we seek funding and other support in the community and in the politic arena for the memorial. I will actually like to nominate Riva Iman as vice president of the board for her lifelong advocacy and human rights representation, former president of the Resident Council, still leader of the Resident Council, and very actively involved in these areas. And I'd like to nominate myself as Secretary Treasurer for the same reason I mentioned last month. You know, having the secretarial administrative resources to maintain minutes, document all our processes, be the custodian of records for the organization. And I'd like to seek a second to that motion.
This is Pastor Presley. I would second the motion.
All right, motion and properly second. Is there any discussion on that motion? And after discussion, we'll open the floor for any further nominations.
I'd like to raise a question. Is this the right time?
Well, yeah, this is discussion on the motion that's on the floor.
Well, Leroy, I have a question too, because I think you should have opened up the floor first before you put your motion on, because we should have the opportunity to open up the floor.
Yeah, we're going to open up the floor for more nominations. I just
Yeah,
want
but there's a motion on the floor. So according to Robert's Rules of Order, if there's a motion on the floor, then we have to carry that vote through, yay or nay. But there's a motion on the floor. So why didn't you just open up the floor?
No, according to Robert's Rules, when there's a motion and a second, you know, that issue now can be voted on. But before we take a vote, I was going to seek further nominations. But let's do it the way you're asking to do it. This is a nonprofit organization. It's not a public body. So there's a lot of rules that are flexible. So I will, at this time, we have a motion, we have a second. We will take a vote on the motion that's on the floor. But before we do that, I would like to open the floor for any other nominations for any officers.
I would like to nominate Yvette Lewis for president.
Okay. And is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, we have a nomination for Yvette Lewis as president by Ms. Burton. We need a second in order to entertain discussion on that motion. Last call for a second to that nomination.
Leroy, I think Clark is trying to talk.
Well, Mr. Clark, would you like to second it? You can just raise your hand if you would like to second that nomination, since it appears you're having audio troubles. He cannot hear me, apparently. So I'm giving every opportunity I can to get a second to this motion, as you can see, Ms. Yvette. But is there a second to the motion for nominating Ms. Lewis as president? Okay, that motion fails. Is there any further nominations for officers? Okay, hearing no further nominations for officers, I'd like to move to a vote on the motion that's on the floor that's properly second. All those in favor of the motion that's on the floor and properly second signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. Mr. Presley?
This is
Yes.
Pastor Presley, yes.
And Ms. Burden? Ms. Burden? You can state yes or nay.
I can't hear you. I heard my name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're voting on the motion that's on the floor. Would you like to vote yes or no?
No.
Okay, and Ms. Lewis?
No.
Okay, so the vote is 4-2 in favor. So congratulations, Mr. Hearns. Congratulations, Ms. Also, I didn't hear Reva Amon. Did you vote yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Um,
And congratulations, Ms. Iman, as vice president. So at this time, since we have a fully elected president and vice president, it's appropriate for me to hand over the gavel to our president to conduct the remainder of the meeting, or at his wishes, I can continue to conduct the rest of the meeting at this time.
Well, Leroy, I just want to make a real brief statement, and then if you would, conduct the rest of this meeting, because I haven't had a chance to really look at the agenda and consider how it ought to be structured.
Sure, my pleasure.
I really believe every member of this board is a member of this board for the community. If not, you don't need to be on this board. I know that's why I'm here, and I believe everyone else is here for the same reason. So that's my only comment at this point.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hearns. All right, at this time, I'd like to move on to our other business because I don't want to lose quorum before we get the rest of this very important business done. We did have a review of our articles of incorporation. Everybody has actually had the articles in your possession for several months now. I'm not going to do a screen share unless there's a desire for it, but our articles was filed with the state several months ago. We have received our recording confirming that our articles of incorporation are indeed filed. So we are fully incorporated. Are there any questions on that before we move on to our bylaws, which we do have to take action on? Okay, hearing no discussion on our articles of incorporation. The bylaws, however, once again, they have been disseminated to all the board members for several months now, and we need to take action by approving or adopting our bylaws at this time. So our bylaws govern how we're going to operate as a nonprofit board. Everybody hopefully has read through them. If you've had any comment on them, or if you've noted any.
Leroy, excuse me. I don't know if you realize this, but Clark is trying to, I don't know what he's doing. But we need he's trying to get somebody's attention.
Well, his mic is now unmuted. So Ms. Clark, you can hear us now, correct? Mr. Clark, can you hear us? Can you wave your hand if you can hear?
Mouthed, I can't hear.
Yeah, he had a mic shown and it was red, which meant that it was muted. But now his mic has completely disappeared. So he must have done something to his connection. Mr. Clark, can you hear us at all? Just give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. If someone can call him, maybe he should just log off and try to come back in with a fresh connection. It looks like his audio is trying to connect now. But because he's moving, that may be the problem. Okay. All right, well, we need to continue to move on. If he comes through, or if someone can give him a call and ask him to try to call back in or relay any comment that he has, I think that'll be appropriate as well. All right. So our bylaws, has there been anyone has any comments or updates that they'd like to make to our bylaws before we take a vote? Anyone? All right, well, is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve the bylaws? We need a motion to approve the bylaws.
I move to approve the bylaws.
Ms. Iman, and is there a second?
I haven't seen any bylaws, so I need to see them.
Yeah, they were in your, yeah, they've been in all the agenda packages that we
I haven't
emailed
seen
since
them.
November of last year.
Oh,
Yeah, since November.
I got the articles, but I don't have the bylaws.
Yeah, the bylaws were there as well. And I can
Well, could
share,
you
I'll do a
resend them? I
screenshot.
would like to hold off until we get a chance to review the bylaws because I haven't seen them.
Okay, bylaws have been discussed in our meetings, and the bylaws have been disseminated a number of times to all the board members. I can respect that, you know, people haven't had a chance to look at them, and I can do a screen share at this point if it pleases the board, and we can.
Sure, do a screen share, please.
Sure. All right, let me pull up the bylaws here. Share this right. Bylaws. Okay, so you guys should actually see the bylaws now, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, great. So these are our bylaws. They were drafted once again by our city attorney rep, but we did have involvement and comment in them. There was a number of edits that I had suggested would be appropriate, and I will go over each of those. And then anyone, as we're going through the bylaws, if you can make note of anything, I will note it down. Our principal offices, because of lack of any other physical address, we use the Tampa Housing Authority. The purpose of the corporation is to support and provide assistance in connection with the ownership, restoration, and enhancement of the Zion Cemetery, located along Florida Avenue. So that just states our purpose as an entity. Under Section 2, earnings, no part of or the net earnings of this corporation shall endure to benefit any director, officer of this corporation, or private individual, except that reasonable compensation may be paid for those services rendered to or for this corporation. So in essence, a board member, a relative of a board member should not have any financial dealings with the Preservation Society. Article 3, prohibited activities and dissolution of the corporation. You know, this spells out, let me just see if I had any notes there. Spells out that no substantial part of the activities of the corporation shall carry out propaganda, otherwise attempt to influence legislation. This corporation shall not participate in or intervene in any political campaigns on behalf of any candidate for a public office. Under dissolution, you know, we can dissolve the corporation if we get to the point where we feel that this entity is no longer needed. The corporation have no members, meaning no one owns it, but it's a nonprofit organization. We do have a board of directors instead of members. So our board of directors have the general powers of the board. And under section 2 here, it talks about the number, terms, and qualifications of board members. Very important for our organization here, in that in determining eligibility for serving as a director on the board, it is agreed that 2 directors will be persons residing in Robles Park Village who have been selected by the residents of Robles Park Village. 1 director will be selected by the local chapter of the NAACP. 1 director will be selected by First Mount Carmel and Church. 1 director will be selected by each of the separate owners of a parcel of land where Zion Cemetery is located currently. And there are 3 separate owners of Zion Cemetery. It's the Tampa Housing Authority, Mr. Crease, and Mr. Gunsmart. So 1 director for each of those entities. 1 director for a total of, 3 directors with the 3 owners. And then 2 directors will be lineal descendants of persons or persons buried at Zion. So those are still 2 empty seats that we've got to identify direct descendants of persons buried at Zion. So they will eventually fill 2 of the seats on this board. By the way, the other 2 owner seats have not yet been filled because, you know, their land is still in private ownership. So once they actually commit to having their land as part of the Zion Cemetery activity, they will be participating as board members at that time. One board member shall have a degree or demonstrated interest and expertise in local African-American history. That's Mr. Hearns. And 1 director shall be a local community activist. That's Ms. Burton. So that's sort of how we structure the actual makeup of our board. I believe that comes to a total of 11 total board members once we get the 2 descendants from Zion. We will have an annual meeting. We held our first meeting in January officially, so that will be the date of our annual meeting going forward. Regular meetings upon reasonable notice. We can have board meetings at any frequency. We have been having them on a monthly basis. We can also call special meetings. Special meetings of the board of directors may be called by the president or upon request of 3 or more of the directors. And then notices must appear 3 days prior. A quorum will constitute a majority of the number of directors as determined from time to time. And a quorum for joint meetings, if less than a majority of the total members of the directors are present at a meeting, a majority of directors still present may join the meeting. Let's see here. What's happening with my cursor? I think my battery is dying on me. There we go. All right. In any of these, you know, you guys want further discussion, we can certainly, you know, have more. I'm just trying to scroll through it. Manner of acting: if a quorum is present when a vote is taken, the act of a majority of the directors present at the meeting shall be the act of the board of directors. So we take an action, and that's the act of the board of directors. Removal or resignation: any director may be removed by the board of directors with or without cause at any meeting of the board of directors, but such removal shall be without prejudice and to the contract rights, if any, of the person removed. A director may resign at any time after given notice. A resignation shall be effective when the notice is delivered. A director's resignation shall not affect the corporation's contract rights, if any, with the director. Vacancies: as vacancies do come available, we will fill those. Presumption of asset. a director of the corporation who is present at a meeting of the board of directors at which action on any corporate matter is taken shall be presumed to have assented to the action taken unless such directors objects at the beginning of the meeting or properly upon arrival to holding the meeting or the transaction of specified business at the meeting.
Excuse me, Leroy, can you advance the screen?
Oh, you guys don't see it moving?
I see section 10. I don't see anything after section 10. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, what about everybody else? I mean, you should see Article 6 now, Chief Administrative Officer.
Yes, I've been seeing you advance the screen on
Okay,
my
yeah, so
side.
Freddie, maybe your monitor needs to be refreshed.
I can see all the way through 10. That's what I'm saying.
Through 10, through removal and
section-
resignation?
Yes, I can see that, and I can't see anything after that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm scrolling further past that, so it must be on your end. You may want to log off and log back in.
Okay.
Okay, so Article 6, Chief Administrative Officer. Chief Administrative Officer, the Board of Directors may hire a Chief Administrative Officer to assume such duties and obligations that may be prescribed by the Board of Directors. We have officers. The officers of the corporation shall consist of the President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer. Appointment and term of office. The officers of the corporation shall be appointed annually by the Board of Directors. So every year at our annual meeting, which is in January, we will go through the same process we just went through to appoint officers of the board. Once again, resignation, removal. The Board of Directors may remove an officer at any time with or without cause. Any officer, and that's obviously with the majority vote. Vacancies. Any vacancies, if there's the president or the vice president or the secretary treasurer vacates that position, we would have to select another board member to fill that vacant officer position. The duties of the officers. The president of the board of the corporation shall preside at all meetings of the board of directors and shall serve as the ex officio member of all standing committees, except as otherwise specifically provided. The president shall also appoint members and chairpersons of all committees that we may create from time to time. In addition to presiding at all meetings, the board of directors, the president, will act as the chief executive officer of the corporation, maintain an effective working relationship with the city of Tampa, and its mayor will be an ex officio member of all committees of the board of directors and sign all contracts in the name of the corporation. The vice president will, in the absence of the president, perform all those duties exercised by the powers of the president. The secretary will be responsible for preparing the minutes of the board meetings, authenticating the minutes of the corporation, giving and serving all notices of the corporation, and acting as the custodian of records. And the treasurer shall keep accounts of the corporation and have care and custody of the funds and securities of the corporation, and shall ensure deposit of such funds in one or more bank accounts or for other financial institutions as may be designated by the board of directors. Of course, we don't have any funds yet, but at some point we will. We will eventually open up bank accounts. The board will have to approve on opening up bank accounts. And at some point we'll start seeing and distributing financial records of the corporation. Delegation of duties in the absence or disability of any officer of the corporation or for any other reason deemed sufficient by the board of directors, the board may delegate powers or duties of such officer to any other officer or to any other director for the time being. Standing committees. We have a finance and audit standing committee. we have a nominating committee, and we'll have a advisory committee. And then we may create other committees from time to time. And we'll need individuals to actually chair those different committees. So in future board meetings, when we activate some of the other committees, like the advisory committee, I could see being one of the very first ones we could activate to actually advise on behalf of the board to the Robles Park planning team, or to the Zion Cemetery, development effort, or to any other, community processes. Conflicts of interest. Effective governance of the board of directors depend on deliberate, thoughtful, and fair-minded and fair decision-making based on the principles of ethical community leadership. The ability to make good decisions is sometimes affected by others' interests. It is recognized that the process of maintaining an effective board inherently involves seeking individuals that are and will continue to be active in the community. Conflicts of interest are a regular part of organizational life. The objective of this section is to permit the board of directors to manage potential conflicts of interest successfully in a manner consistent with the ethical requirements imposed by the Articles of Incorporation and these bylaws. So this is just recognizing that people on these kind of committees typically are involved in many other organizations. And if you have a conflict of interest, it's incumbent upon us to divulge that and make that known, and then not participate in actions and votes that could put you in conflict. Prohibited actions. No member of the board shall participate in any official action directly or indirectly affecting a business in which he or she or any member of his or her immediate family or close personal relation has a financial interest in any of these board activities. That means his or her personal gain. That means any special private gain of any person of whom he or she is retained by, or a parent or subsidiary organization, or special private gain of a relative of a board member. The purpose of this provision, special private gain shall mean economic benefit of any kind which inures to the individual. Removal. In addition to any other provision of the bylaws, the board member may be removed from office by a majority vote of the board of directors if such member has disclosed a conflict of interest in 10% or more of the matters that come before the board. So if we've got a board member that's continually has conflicts of interest and abstain from voting, and that exceeds 10% of the votes that we're casting, then that becomes a board member that is not very active for us because they have to abstain from too many activities. So we would want to remove that board member and get someone who has less conflicts. Indemnification of directors and officers. Once again, we will obtain, officers insurance that insure all of us individually, as long as we are managing our business affairs in accordance with these bylaws. We are personally indemnified from any personal liability, that may be lodged against the organization. Scroll through just a few of these. Still going through indemnification information. Repayment of expenses. If there is any legal issues, that's necessary to be defended. Let me just read this section. Expenses incurred by a director or officer in defending a civil or criminal action, suit, or other proceeding referred to in this section shall be paid by the corporation in advance of final disposition thereof. So someone sues the corporation, you don't have to pay your own personal attorney unless your actions have been contrary to our bylaws. then that will expose you to personal liability. And you may have to obtain your own legal representation. But, you know, we've got bylaws for a reason, so that we can all operate within those set of standards. And that's the insurance that, as I said, that we will actually have for directors and officers of the organization that covers us for any action that someone may bring against the corporation. Emergencies. That section, emergency powers of acting officer. If as a result of an emergency, the president or other officials are unable to perform their duties, the powers and duties of the president or other officers shall be held and performed by that officer of the corporation highest on the list of successors. So if the president can't, the vice president rolls up and performs that action. If both president and vice president, secretary, treasurer rolls up and performs that action. And that's primarily for signing contracts or, you know, signing legal documents on behalf of the corporation, et cetera. Let's see. Oh, emergency powers of the board. In anticipation of or during an emergency, the available directors may relocate the corporation personal office or designate an alternative office. The board may also have such other emergency powers as may be set forth in the following statutes. Corporation, let's see. And then upon termination of an emergency, special emergency bylaws contained in that article will cease to be operative as well. Our fiscal year is October 1st and ending September 30th. We don't have a seal yet, but we'll have to actually come up with a seal for the corporation. And these bylaws may be amended and repealed from time to time by a majority of the vote of the board. So I, as your secretary treasurer, will sign these, and we will file these along with you know, with our articles that's already filed with the state, as the board has now approved them, or once the board has approved them. So are there any questions on the bylaws?
None. Mr. Moore, I want to say thank you for reading that to us. Even though I know you, that we've had them before. So I do want to say thank you, but I do have one question. How many total board members we have?
Yeah, we have 11 total. And let me just sort of recap. So 2 Robles, 2 elected by Robles site, 1 from NAACP, 1 from Mount Carmel, 3 owners, 2 descendants, 1 expert, and 1 activist.
Okay.
So a total of 11 when we're fully seated.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Leroy, since we just had an election, our first election, and it's April, are these offices good until January next year, or is that correct?
Yes, until our next annual meeting, which will be January.
Okay, okay.
Yep. All right, let's see, I'm just looking, yep, I don't have any other notes on those. So is there a motion to, did we do a motion already in second?
No, because I believe Ms. Lewis had wanted you to share the bylaws with us.
So at this time, we can entertain a motion to approve the bylaws.
Well, this is Pastor Presley again. I make a motion that we approve the bylaws for Zion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Mr. Harris, all right. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Hearns
Yes.
and Mr. Presley
Yes.
and Ms. Iman
Yes.
and Ms. Burton. Ms. Burton, if you're still on. Nope. And is Ms. Lewis still on?
Looking at the participants, I don't see neither one of those names anymore.
Okay. And Mr. Moore, that's myself. I vote yes. Are there any other board members that I did not call your name? Okay, so we have 4 in favor and 4 constitute a majority of those members that are currently present. Therefore, the bylaws pass. All right, other business. So we need a motion to approve the submission of the final report to the state of Florida, and that is the Zion Archaeological Report that we reviewed. We reviewed it in November, we reviewed it again in December, and I believe we reviewed it one more time since December. But it's the report that Paul Jones and Eric Pendergrass from Cardinal has reviewed with us. We've actually already submitted it to the state, but we just wanted a symbolic preservation committee endorsement of that report that's already been submitted. That was a report that was paid for by the Tampa Housing Authority. That's already been submitted to the state, but I think it's appropriate that we have symbolic support from the Preservation Society. So this time I'd like to ask for a motion to approve or ratify the submission of the final report to the state.
I so move, Leroy.
And is there a second?
This is Pastor Presley. I'll go ahead and second it as well.
Okay. All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none. Let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Hearns,
Yes.
Mr. Presley,
Yes.
Ms. Iman,
Yes.
Mr. Moore, yes. And I don't see any other board members online, so motion passes 4-0. And let me stop sharing here.
Leroy, did Clark drop off altogether?
I do not see him on anymore, no.
Okay.
Okay. Can LG 25, can you identify yourself? I just want to make sure we don't have another board member that will.
Hey, before I, no, it's Toya and Ina Hargett. I was just letting you guys know congratulations, and I need to log off with this new time. I didn't want to disrupt the meeting.
Awesome. Thank you so
But I'm
much.
logging off now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
actually,
you, Ms. Hargreaves.
Thank you, Mr. Hearns. And by the way, before I go, if you guys don't mind, I want to let you all know that Janelle, with the assistance of Janelle McGregor from the city's community partnerships, we've already went ahead and filed our report. There was no board, so we had to kind of do it on our own. And I did that with the assistance of also Ms. Rival-Iman. So I thank her for indulging me that day when I wanted to really just get it done before you have to pay it's like a $400 or $500 fine if you file it late. So I wanted to get that out of the way so that wasn't an issue due to our organizational problems we were having. So y'all have a good evening, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. You too.
All right, and the last item on the agenda, I just wanted to officially have the board authorize our president now to start some direct discussions. I don't want to call it negotiations, but discussions with the other 2 property owners about what it would take for us to acquire and for them to donate, for us to, get their property conveyed into the Preservation Society. So I would like to make that motion. I'd like to make a motion that the board authorize our president to form a committee of his choosing and commence negotiations, outreach, discussions with the other two private owners to ascertain how we might complete the acquisition and reunification of these 3 parcels of land that's needed for the Zion Memorial.
I second the motion.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? And of course, we will
Leroy,
bring
what I-
back updates on a regular basis to our board to let you know how, those discussions are going. Ms. Hearn?
Leroy, yeah, what I would like to do is offer the opportunity for any other member of this board to serve with me on that committee. I
Right.
want to just choose some folk. I want to open it up to all members. And then we'll have a deadline, and whoever has volunteered by that time, that will be the committee. If not, then I will ask, I think we need at least 3 people on that
Okay.
committee. Would you agree?
I would agree. That's a good number.
So,
All right.
okay, I just wanted to put that out. That's the way I'd like to do it.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Let's do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Any
right,
opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right, that clears out our agenda. Any comments or announcements by any of the board members?
I want to thank those board members who are still on the line for your confidence in me. You will not be disappointed. I will not let you down. I'll give it my best. And as I said earlier, we're all here for the community. That's the only reason I think anyone would want to be on this board. So I think we're going to work together well.
Indeed. Appreciate that, Mr. Anyone further? All right, so everybody look at the camera because I'm going to do a screenshot just to document this for prosperity purposes. All right, I got you all. Okay, with hearing no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
And is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion second. All in favor, say aye.
All right,
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
thank you so much for presiding.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.